So here I am in quarantine, having nothing really to do for the next couple of days. So I thought it might be a little bit fun to, try to take some of these political tests and upload the results. All right, let's just hop into it. If economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational corporations. I strongly agree. I always support my country whether it's doing the right or wrong. I strongly disagree. A good example of this is or with the Iran and the Iraq War. I've always been against these uh, like purposeless wars that are just out to get the oil and money from the Middle East. It's these profit motivated wars instead of actually humanitarian motivated wars. No one chooses his or her birth country, so it's foolish to be proud of it. I agree with this. I Now that's not me saying like it's foolish to be proud of it if they're doing something right. I'm just saying it's foolish just because you were born there to automatically praise it for something it does not really deserve. Our race has many superior qualities compared to other races. Strongly disagree. When it comes down to it, all races have like overall the same brain, have the same characteristics. Sure, there's some minute changes with the physical aspects. We can go into stereotypes, but what's fun is that? It's just you know, it's just usually stupid reactionary people who think they're better for someone just for these arbitrary qualities that aren't even true most of the time. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I disagree with that. Now, sometimes your enemy of your enemy or the enemy of my enemy can be a friend, but it's only if, those core values align. It shouldn't be just because they're the enemy of the enemy. It should be because despite the enemy, there's still common ground between the two of you. Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. I strongly disagree with this. You know, I come very strongly uh, on the fact that international law was put there for a reason to stop genocide, to stop unnecessary suffering of different people, and it's just completely like this like stupid idea that it's okay when we ignore international law or treaties. We do it because we're the international policemen of the world, and yet when was getting or Iran was getting demonized when they backed out of the Iran deal after not only have we violated the terms, well, I'm a U.S. citizen, so I should probably say that, but not only have we violated the terms, but we already pulled out for it, and yet we keep ignoring or we keep like shaming them for violating the rules that shouldn't have been there in the first place. Just completely passive, or that's just stupid. There's now a warm fusion of information and entertainment. Um, I disagree with that. I think the way I take this is like shows promoting a political content or shows like sharing content, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. It helps people keep informed, and entertainment has been like a big force of satire and like really opening people's eyes to the political establishment and the evil it does. People are ultimately divided more by class than by nationality. Um, I agree with this. Like there's like a big difference from or there I would say there's a larger difference between the 0.1%, like a black man at the 1.1% and a black man at the like bottom 99%, than than a white man at the bottom and a white man at the bottom. I think it's just at some point like we have to look at this because class and nationality are two different intersections of uh, differences, and to think of them as separate like axes and to think about them as non-correlative like I think class has much or have pushed much larger controls and have led to more racism, then most things, like reminds me in AP World we were learning about the slave trade and how it was originally started to boost their economic incentives. Then they came up with their logical reasoning afterwards, where they made excuses for themselves just based on their uh, uh, just based off their economic aspects. Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. Um, I mean, inflation is not always a bad thing. I remember in Economics 101 where we talked about how inflation is a necessary part of an economy to keep the money flow growing while not letting wealth concentrate in the hands of too many people. Now, of course, inflation is worse for people who are lower in class than the mega wealthy. But overall, I think unemployment is a much bigger concern, even though unemployment is not the best basis for how people like in the bottom 99% are doing. So I'm gonna say I wait. I'm gonna say I disagree. Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation. I strongly agree with this one. I think it's just like the most like obvious thing in the world. Like if you don't get this, then like I think you have to like look at a lot of basic theory to understand like that. Even I think it was Cose's theorem. That could be something with math actually. I'm not entirely. I have so many things in my head right now, but I'm pretty sure Cose's theorem says that you should let the two private market like talk about externalities and figure out how they should deal with the positive externalities of their actions. And like through time, you do not see this happening at all. Even like most economics agree, or economists agree that Cose's theorem does not work. If I'm getting the name correct, I hope I am. This could be really embarrassing for me. From each according to his ability to each according to his need is a fundamentally good idea. I slightly agree with this because if we really look at, we should be focusing on what a person can do and what they need to survive. We need to be able to give the populace, their needs, and we need to, or well, and we need to value their abilities. So, but I do not fully agree with the authoritarian aspect of this statement. It's a sad reflection of society that something as basic as drinking water is bottled and branded for product. I think I agree with this. Yeah, I mean, sure, you could just not buy bottled water, but I mean, overall, like, I think it's dumb that someone can market something as like needed as water to drink it. Like, it's kind of stupid. Land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold. I slightly agree with this. Yeah, like we see like with the quarantine going on in LA, we see like instead of the uh, mayor doing something about like putting the homeless people in those empty hotels, he's more focused on drawing lines to show how far away of social distancing there should be between them. And it's just this kind of aspect of focusing on the symptoms instead of the problem that just really bothers me. Like, I think it's just like stupid what they're doing when they have the opportunity to do real meaningful help for the people who really need it. It is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to their society. I strongly agree with this one. Like the capital gains tax. Oh my gosh, it's insane that some of these, like Mitt Romney, I remember paid a lower tax than his secretary, or as a percentage, and yet most of what he did was just manipulate money through the stock market instead of actually doing something productive with his like money, as in like funding it through the market. Like for one, something he could have done was made new jobs. Instead, he just pumped his money into the stock market and then pulled it out the second he was able to make even a little bit of a gain. Protectionism is sometimes necessary. I agree with this. I do think trade is like an overall like plus to the economy, but we still need to protect the people who jobs like required, they're not being outsourced to other countries. Now that's not me saying that I completely, uh, you know, like disagree with like people who like free trade. Like I think it's not necessarily a bad idea. It just needs some regulations on top of it to ensure that our jobs not just being outsourced and because of the lower labor standards elsewhere, and we're just getting the buttons. Like I remember this one story that Canada asked the U.S. to really increase its labor standards because what kept happening was all the Canadian jobs would come down to the U.S. and Mexico during NAFTA because of our lower labor standards, that they could get away with paying their workers less. The only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to the shareholders. I strongly disagree. A company should feel inclined to really help out their um, their employees first and foremost, and then their stockholders second. It should really be a focus on helping out the people who work for you to guarantee a way of living. The rich are too highly taxed. I super disagree with this, especially with the Trump tax cut that just went through, who lowered their taxes, I think, all the way down to 20%, the lowest it's been in this country's history. Like, I remember back during well, I don't personally remember it, but the numbers back done under, like, Truman, a Republican president, was all the way up to 97% for the highest tax rate. And now that that's been brought down and brought down and brought down over time, what we continue seeing is we have uh, all of these jobs that are not getting really uh, yeah, I'm sorry, 1 second. We keep seeing this wealth distribution and hey, out this wealth distribution and the change in. I'm so sorry, hold on, give me a second. Whew. I'm a little tired. So we keep seeing this differences in wealth continue to rise, and the poor keep getting poorer and the rich keep getting richer to an obscene amount, where I think that like a billion or CEOs now make about 1,000 times what their average employee makes, which is just insane to have an economy functioning like the way it is today. Those who have the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of medical care. I slightly disagree with this one. I think we should have a base of care for all people. And then, sure, if you want to buy some supplemental care for some, like, elective procedures like Botox or like injections or anything like that, that's fine with me. Government should penalize businesses that mislead the public. I strongly agree. Should be a tenet of every economy. The fact that it's not is just baffling. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinational to create monopolies. I strongly disagree with this one. Like a good example of this would be the radio companies or not necessarily the radio companies, but the providers of internet and water filtration companies, where we should really nationalize the companies because it makes no sense to have just a natural monopoly there driving up the prices, and it doesn't make any sense for another company to come in there, then it wouldn't have enough money to succeed or be worth either of them. So it just doesn't make any sense for the a market or like a corporation to come in and do that when it should really be the government who should do it. The freer the market, the freer people. I disagree in the fact that it depends what you mean freer the market. Because if you mean like puts less restrictions on like what corporations can sell, like they can sell snake oil, then of course not. Then it just because there's more options doesn't mean you're freer. It can mean that you're just getting played by a corporation. Alright. Abortion, when the woman's life is not threatened, should be illegal. I strongly disagree with it. It should be the woman's right to choose. All authority should be questioned. I strongly agree with that. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. I disagree with that. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theaters or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis. I disagree with that. Now, of course, like some companies and corporations, like it doesn't make any sense to prop them up, but like for a lot of them, like that are staples in the community, I think it makes sense to support them with tax money, because just because something uh, does not produce intrinsic value through capital does not mean it doesn't have a value nonetheless. Schools should make classroom attendance compulsory. I agree with this just in the fact that I think it would drive up the education for low and middle class high school, just because. Um,
What are you doing?
Out!
What are you doing, Mama?
Alright, sorry about that. Uh, all people have their rights, but it's better for all of us that different people or different sorts of people should have their own kind. I strongly disagree with that. It's unfair to um, have like different people favored in society by the law. I've always been a big supporter of movements like BLM, and even especially Colin Kaepernick's work. Like a lot of people don't realize this, but his work goes a lot further than kneeling during the pledge. Like he has done a lot of good for a lot of different communities. Um, Good parents sometimes have to spank their children. I disagree. There's been numerous studies that found like spanking your children have had like numerous psychological effects that have harmed their children's upbringing. It's natural for a child to keep secrets from their parents. I strongly agree with that. Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense. I strongly agree with that. The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generations for job. I disagree with that. I think there should be um, I think a big purpose of schooling should be to really help people discover who they really are and really try to advance, find what they really want to do in the world, instead of, just to like set them out and like, your prime function in this world is to have corporations and work for them. People with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce. I disagree strongly with that. The most important thing for children is to learn discipline. I disagree with that. I think there's a lot better things to learn, but discipline is a freeing aspect. Like if you're really disciplined and you really are able to get your work done in a fast, efficient way, then you'll have a lot like freer of life. You'll have a lot more free time. You'll be able to like focus on something much better and be able to do it a lot easier, and that'll just help you out in your job life, and it's just a really helpful skill to have. There are no savage and civilized peoples. There are only different cultures. I strongly agree with that. Because the people in Saudi Arabia and the people in the United States are the same people. Just because they are brought up in this Christian or this Islam fundamentalist societies, not tells women not to drive or have any leadership roles. Just because that's the case there doesn't mean it's an inherent aspect of the people there. It's just an aspect of their culture. Those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not be expected society support. I disagree. Not strongly, of course, because if you do have jobs options, but I like say like just because you can get a job at like 7-Eleven for like $7 an hour or whatever minimum wage is, like $7.15, doesn't mean someone should have to take that like slavery wage just to be able to get by. It should really like if like someone shouldn't have to like get a part-time job while doing a job search in the meantime to like be able to find what they really want to do. And I think that's just like a big contradiction, and like conservatives saying, oh yes, we want more hard workers going to school so they could get good jobs they want, but then they want people who just have to settle down for jobs they don't like, that they didn't go to school for, just because they don't have enough funding to be able to actually do a good and qualified job search for it. When you're troubled, it's better not to think about it, but to keep busy. I disagree with this. I think it's important to really like look at your problems and like focus on what you can do with them, and like try to improve your situation. First generation immigrants can never integrate fully. Yeah, I strongly disagree with that. You know, like there's like a difference between like finding no difference between people and their cultures. Like, so nobody should like. There's a difference between uh, someone like integrating into society and someone casting away their culture and heritage. And I think that's an important distinction to make. Just because somebody is like a functioning person of society, doesn't mean they have to like completely forget where they came from. What's good for the most successful corporations is always ultimately good for us. I disagree with that. I think there's some good things that can happen through, uh, GDP growth and like, uh, you know, like if a corporation is failing, then it's obviously going to be bad for the workers there. But overall, like just because a corporation is making more money doesn't mean the money is going to the employees of that corporation. No broadcasting institution, however independent is conscious to receive public funding. I disagree with that. I think, I think I think there's a lot of good that can be done with a news company that does not have to deal with the, you know, have to deal with, corporations like having advertisers in there and being afraid that whatever you report on will have to, not make the advertisers mad, and it could limit what you're able to report on and really like harm like what you're able to show. Our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism. Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of like stuff is stupid. Like take off your shoes at the airport. Like you can wear your shoe like going through like a or a metal detector. Like I don't know if that's a private problem. Uh, a significant advantage of a one-party state is that it avoids all arguments. Yeah, I disagree with that. I think inherently a one-party state will always breed not effective solutions, just because there's not, that intermingling of ideas that really helps, ideas really get like fully, shown and fully idealized to their best possible scenario. Although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrong. Yeah, I disagree with that. I think, I remember this big thing where Martin Luther King was blackmailed, I think, by the CIA for, he had an affair, and he was told that if he didn't want this affair to come out, he should kill himself, and I think that's like a main crux of why a surveillance state is completely stupid. The death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes. I disagree with that. Like, I think the like percentage of like people in jail for people who do not commit the crime and are still in jail are 4% of people. Where say you like execute like 100 people, that means that's what 4% of 100. Oh, that means you just killed 4 innocent people. Like, that's not justice. That's murder. In civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded. I disagree with that. I think hierarchies can do some good in the fact that it allows people a sense of direction, but in general, I think hierarchies are inherently demeaning and put down workers. So I think there needs to be a good mix between, the levels of hierarchy and being able to, have like free organization. Abstract art, abstract art doesn't represent anything. Okay, yeah, no, abstract art is art. All art inherently has meaning. Like, even those stupid people in the aesthetic movement back in the 1700s, like, they said that art didn't have meaning. Of course it had meaning. Everything you do has a meaning. Like, seriously, it's so fucking stupid. I'm sorry, but I'm just going to go on a fucking rant about how dumb the aesthetic movement is for a second. Because I remember this guy, Whistler, who had a painting of his mom, and then when people were like, oh wow, I wonder what this can represent, he just said, no, this represents nothing. Even though, of course, like, it represents something. Like, all art has meaning, all art has narrative. Like, even though you may not want it to have, it all art does have narrative. And criminal justice punishment should be more important than rehabilitation. I strongly disagree with this. The first and foremost we should do is try to rehabilitate prisoners into society. I think like all these like dumb conservatives saying, oh, like there's been studies that show, like having harsher punishments in jail does not help like curve people committing crime in any substantial event. Like, sure, like having a criminal sentence does, but like harshening the crime to such an extreme degree doesn't really do anything like that. It is a waste of time to try to rehabilitate some criminals. I disagree with this. I think sometimes it is, but most of the time it's not at all. I think like in a very few circumstances, like some people are just too far gone, but in the overwhelming amount of circumstances, I think like almost nobody reaches that level. The person or a business person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist. I disagree with that. Would you say that about the people, the artists and the writers during the French Revolution? Like, I think it's much more important to keep down the history during an event like that than, have people trying to, like, make everything stay stable in the economy when, for the better good of the people, then that doesn't make any sense in that scenario. Mothers may have careers, but their first, no, I strongly disagree with that. This is stupid. Nobody has inherently, like, a duty to do. Like, people should do whatever they think is necessary for them to do in the long term. Multinational companies are unethically exploiting the plant genetic resources of, yes, I strongly agree with this. Like, there's so many different countries, and like, especially with, like oil, did you hear that one story of, I think, I can't remember I think it was Pompeo who went on Fox and just openly said, yeah, we're going to go on to Venezuela to try to get their oil. It's like, it was like some of these people are so fucking blatant about their, just their exploiting of these, like, countries that have been, sure, Venezuela is not a very good socialist country, but there's also been a lot of, like, embargoes and sanctions put on them that really hurt their chances to even shine in the first place. So I don't think it's necessarily a fair equivalent statement to say, oh, socialism never worked despite all these hardships like being weighed to actually like start any type of socialist regime. Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. No, I strongly disagree with that. I think it's first and most important to really like see what you can do and like try to fix the establishment to what you see can do. Like if every generation just like turned over and bent over and like didn't care, then Martin Luther King wouldn't have been able to change as much as he did. Astrology, no, fuck astrology. You can be moral without. Yeah, I strongly disagree with that. Charity is better than social security. No, that's stupid. Yeah, no, that's dumb. Some people are naturally unlucky. Oh yeah, I firmly agree with this. Yeah, there's a lot of people who are super lucky, a lot of people who are not lucky. It's just like a flip of a coin. It is important that my children's schools. No, strongly disagree with that. Separation of church and state. Come on, dude. Yeah, no, it's not inherently moral. A same-sex couple and a stable loving relationship cannot be excluded from the possibility. Okay, so hold on. Yeah, so it should not be excluded. I agree. Yeah, they should be able to adopt. Yeah, I strongly agree with this. Yeah, I've heard like I think I saw a study. I'm not entirely sure. I could just be like remembering wrong. That like actually like decreased the amount of, like sexual assaults. But that could just mean like being completely stupid, but and like misremembering something. But I think I saw something like that. What goes on in a private bedroom between consenting adults is no business. Yeah, I strongly agree with this. No one no, that's stupid. Like, of course someone can feel naturally homosexual. These days, openness about, yeah, no, I strongly disagree with that. Like, I mean, I feel like it's been like forever. Just because it's a different sort of people like talking about it doesn't mean really anything. Okay. Well, here's the results, folks. Let's see. Okay. Okay, yeah, that's pretty good. Um, you know, I'm pretty like economic left and pretty social left too. You know, libertarian has always been or anarchy has always been like a socialist position. Yeah, just for good sake, let's search this. So is it? Let's see if this will just work flat out. Right. Okay. Let's see. This is probably just like an awful tangent. That doesn't really matter. Yeah. Well, maybe there's something on the website that can like tell me where it is. Or I guess I might have to do a different one just to like really like see. Or here. So I'm about as left as Stalin and about as more libertarian than Gandhi. Let's see. Yeah, I don't see anything that I can see, but well, I guess that's my political leaning for you guys. Well, thank you for watching. Have a great day.